Hi, my name is Sydney McCloskey, and I will be presenting on SARS. SARS stands for Severe Acute Respiratory Syndrome. So here's a brief introduction. It is basically a severe and atypical form of pneumonia. It was first noticed worldwide in 2003 when there was an outbreak in Southeast Asia. It then spread to more than 24 other countries, including North and South America, Europe, Australia, and even Africa. Overall, the outbreak produced about 8,000 cases of SARS and around 750 to 800 deaths. That number is sort of dependent on the website. So a backstory to this outbreak in Southeast Asia. It basically started with a physician in a province of China called Guangdong, and he treated a patient that actually had SARS, and he himself contracted it. However, without knowing. And he was invited to a wedding in Hong Kong, and so he was starting to show symptoms of the SARS virus, but he thought he felt well enough to go to the wedding anyway. So he went to Hong Kong and stayed in a hotel for the wedding, and the hotel he stayed at was a hotel where a lot of international travelers stayed at as well. And so he actually ended up infecting some of the people on his floor that were staying in his hotel. Um, and so when they went back to their home country, they brought the virus there, and that's sort of just how it spread throughout the world and became a pandemic. And it's also just an example of how world travel can really help spread disease, unfortunately. And then here's just some geographic maps showing where all the SARS virus was spread um, from Hong Kong to all these other places. Just a visual for you. Okay, so where did the SARS virus originate? SARS comes from the virus coronavirus, which is the same virus that causes the common cold. There are many different types of coronavirus actually, but SARS is a more specific type. And there are three different SARS coronaviruses. There's the human SARS coronavirus, the bat SARS coronavirus, and the civet SARS coronavirus. And bats were actually found to be the natural reservoirs of this SARS coronavirus. And they found this out just using like a phylogeny tree and looking at different clades, like where they are. And bats were found to be the carriers. However, the virus was most likely passed on to humans through intermediate hosts like civets. Um, so bats, for the most part, didn't just directly give humans the virus. They usually infected civets, and in China there are civet farms, and where civets are grown, raised to be sold to markets, and then the markets will kill them and then sell them to humans, people living in China. So that's how it got passed on to more people and very rapidly. And then over here, I have a picture of the horseshoe bat, and there was a group of horseshoe bats found to have the SARS coronavirus in China, so thought I'd put that picture there. They're kind of freaky looking. Some characteristics of the SARS coronavirus are that it is enveloped, it contains positive single-stranded RNA, it's also approximately 78 nanometers in diameter. Glycoproteins are present, and you can see those in the picture around the virus sticking out from there. And the genus is Beta coronavirinae, and the species is SARS coronavirus. Transmission. So SARS is mainly transmitted through close person-to-person contact. This includes talking to someone within a distance of 3 feet, also hugging or kissing, or actually any form of touching, like physical contact with the infected person. And obviously if you're sharing their food and their drink, you may also get infected, so that's not good. It can also be spread through respiratory droplets, though, through the air. And some interesting facts about those is that the virus can live in the droplets after they've landed on a surface. for up to 6 hours. And then once the droplet actually dries, the virus can still live in there for up to 3 more hours. And then also the live virus can be found in stool for up to 4 days. So it really likes to stick around. Some symptoms of the SARS coronavirus are that the infected person will get a fever over 100.4 degrees Fahrenheit, which is 38 degrees Celsius. And then usually 2 to 3 days after developing the fever, they'll get a cough. And then they'll have difficulty breathing. Headache and muscle aches are also symptoms, along with diarrhea. So what SARS actually does is essentially the virus damages the air sacs in the lungs, and the lungs become inflamed. And so these damaged air sacs have a hard time getting oxygen through to the bloodstream. So you can see why people have difficulty breathing. They aren't getting enough oxygen when they are infected. And so in the picture, I have a picture of lungs that have pneumonia. And SARS is basically just a more severe form of pneumonia. So I thought this would be appropriate. So you can see there's some inflammation of the lungs there caused by the pneumonia, and then there's the heart and treatment. So treatment for SARS is mainly just treatment for pneumonia, since it's a severe form of pneumonia. Antibiotics can be used, also steroids to reduce swelling in the lungs, and mechanical ventilation is also used for like breath support or assisted breathing basically. And so I put a picture of an endotracheal tube. Here it assists with breathing, and then also antiviral medication can be also used. However, what I've read through, they say that the treatment can sometimes be effective and sometimes it can't be effective. So it kind of depends on the individual whether these options work for them or not. So that's sort of unfortunate. And thank you for listening to my presentation. I will see you guys in class.